A nation divided, the birthright battle, America, land of the free, home of the brave, a nation built on ideals like equality, opportunity, and birthright citizenship. It's a simple concept enshrined in the 14th Amendment. If you're born on U.S. soil, you're a citizen. No ifs, ands, or buts. At least that's how it's supposed to work. But in 2025, this fundamental right is on the ropes. Former President Trump, never one to shy away from a fight, signed an executive order aiming to end birthright citizenship. His target? Children of undocumented immigrants. The nation erupted. Protests raged. Lawsuits were filed. A deeply divided America found itself locked in yet another bitter battle over its core values. Trump's executive order sent shockwaves through the legal system. Could a president really overturn a constitutional amendment with the stroke of a pen? Legal experts were skeptical. Constitutional scholars cried foul. But Trump remained defiant. He argued that the 14th Amendment was being misapplied, that it was never intended to grant citizenship to the children of those here illegally. He painted a picture of an America under siege, overrun by anchor babies exploiting a loophole in the law. The message resonated with his base, stoking the flames of fear and resentment. The stage was set for a legal showdown of epic proportions. The legal battle quickly escalated to the highest court in the land, the Supreme Court. This was not just any legal skirmish, it was a pivotal moment that could redefine the balance of power between the judiciary and the executive branch. 3 district judges had already issued nationwide injunctions, blocking Trump's order from taking effect. These injunctions were seen as a direct challenge to the administration's authority, creating a legal impasse. But the Supreme Court agreed to hear the case, setting the stage for a dramatic showdown. The stakes were incredibly high, with both sides preparing for a fierce legal battle. At the heart of the legal wrangling was the issue of nationwide injunctions. These powerful legal tools had become a flashpoint in the debate over judicial authority. These injunctions, issued by a single judge, can block a federal policy from being implemented across the entire country. This sweeping power had far-reaching implications for the federal government's ability to enforce its policies. Conservative justices, long critical of what they see as judicial overreach, saw an opportunity to rein in this powerful tool. They believed that such decisions should not rest in the hands of a single judge. Justice Thomas, a staunch conservative, voiced his concerns, arguing that nationwide injunctions allow a single district judge to stop the entire federal government in its tracks. He saw this as a fundamental threat to the separation of powers. He argued that such sweeping power should be reserved for Congress, not the judiciary. This case would test the limits of judicial authority and could reshape the landscape of American governance. Section 4. Conservative Concerns, a Nation Governed by Judges. The conservative justices' concerns about nationwide injunctions went beyond legal technicalities. They believed these injunctions were being used to block policies that had widespread public support. They tapped into a deeper anxiety about the balance of power in American democracy. This anxiety was not just about the judiciary, but about the perceived overreach of any unelected body. Conservatives have long argued that unelected judges, often with liberal leanings, have become too powerful, making decisions that should be left to elected representatives, overturning the will of the people and imposing their own values on the nation. This has led to a growing frustration among those who feel their voices are being ignored. Justice Alito, another conservative voice on the court, echoed this sentiment, emphasizing the need for judicial restraint, warning that the use of nationwide injunctions has spiraled out of control. He pointed out that these injunctions can halt policies that have been democratically enacted. He argued that these injunctions undermine the democratic process, creating a situation where a single judge can have outsized influence, allowing a single judge to override the decisions of elected officials. This, he said, was not how the system was meant to function. The conservative argument resonated with many Americans who felt that their values and opinions were being sidelined, particularly those who felt that the country was being pulled too far to the left. They believed that the judiciary was overstepping its bounds. They saw Trump's executive order, aimed at curbing the power of nationwide injunctions, and the fight against nationwide injunctions as a way to restore balance to the system. This was seen as a necessary step to ensure that elected officials could govern without undue interference, and give power back to the people. This movement was about reaffirming the principles of democracy and ensuring that the will of the majority was respected. Section 5. Liberal fears, a path to tyranny. Liberal justices, on the other hand, viewed the attack on nationwide injunctions with alarm. They saw these legal tools as vital safeguards. They argued that these injunctions are essential tools for protecting individual rights and preventing the executive branch from abusing its power. Without them, the balance of power could be dangerously skewed. They feared that limiting nationwide injunctions would embolden presidents to ignore court rulings and trample on the Constitution. This could lead to unchecked executive power. Justice Sotomayor, a liberal stalwart, articulated these fears, warning that the court's decision could have disastrous consequences for our democracy. She emphasized the importance of judicial oversight. She argued that if nationwide injunctions are curtailed, the executive branch will be free to violate the Constitution with impunity. This would undermine the checks and balances system. The liberal argument tapped into a deep-seated fear of tyranny and authoritarianism. They believed that the erosion of these legal protections could lead to a slippery slope. Liberals worried that Trump's executive order and the attack on nationwide injunctions were part of a broader assault on the rule of law and the very foundations of American democracy. They saw it as a critical moment to defend judicial independence. Section 6. The stakes. What's next for American citizenship? The Supreme Court's decision on Trump's Birthright Citizenship executive order and the future of nationwide injunctions has far-reaching implications for the country. The court's ruling could reshape the legal landscape, impacting everything from immigration policy to environmental regulations to healthcare access. If the court upholds Trump's order, it could create a two-tiered system of citizenship, potentially impacting millions of Americans and their families. If the court limits nationwide injunctions, it could embolden future presidents to push the boundaries of executive power, potentially undermining the checks and balances that are fundamental to American democracy. The stakes are high, and the outcome remains uncertain. One thing is clear: the battle over birthright citizenship and the broader fight over the role of the judiciary in American society is far from over. Section 7. Stay informed, the fight continues. The Supreme Court's decision on birthright citizenship and nationwide injunctions is a landmark case with the potential to reshape the legal landscape and impact the lives of millions of Americans. It's a complex issue with no easy answers, and it's more important than ever to stay informed and engaged. The fight for a more just and equitable society continues. Subscribe to our channel for in-depth analysis, expert commentary, and the latest updates on this critical issue. Together, we can make a difference.